Hello and welcome to Halcyon Blink. I'm your host, Lorne Risley. On this episode, let's talk about Justice League, the film franchise that just can't seem to get going for whatever reason. However, let's talk about the film itself, not the underlying problems of the film's casting and development cycle hell and the comparisons with Marvel. Let's just talk about the bare bones of the film, whether it's acted well, produced well, if it's fun, if it's interesting, if it's intriguing, yada yada yada. And the answer to the questions, pretty much all of them, is yes, kind of. I mean, let's start off with the team itself, the Justice League members. I really enjoyed every single one of them. The only character that I thought was particularly weak was actually Batman, who seemed to take a step back in terms of the coolness of the character, but maybe that was an intentional move to try and catch some of the other members up to him in terms of the audience's familiarity with them and humanize Batman a little bit in the face of these godlike super-powered beings. I mean, let's break them down. Wonder Woman, she's had her own standalone film now, so her character's been fleshed out to a degree, but her interactions with Batman are actually probably the most engaging of the film, bar Barry Allen, who serves as the comedy relief here in spades, is a departure from the Barry Allen that we know in the television show, but by the same token is still entertaining in his own right. The Cyborg character, for instance, I really enjoyed his sort of dark, more brooding nature. He kind of took the place of Batman as the more stoic, strong member of the team, even though in terms of combat he was actually kind of a bit And just coming back to Barry Allen's character for a bit, the heartfelt moment at the beginning with him and his father really struck a chord with me because I, as a fan, have seen him go through this transition a couple of times and I really enjoyed it. The final member of the team, Aquaman, is probably the weakest member of the team and the most forgettable in the sense that he doesn't actually have that many moments. There's one memorable moment in the film where he's sitting on the lasso of truth and he starts talking about how he doesn't want to die in the upcoming battle and yada yada yada, which was quite funny, and he has some moments and he's the one who drops the S-bomb in most in the film. But overall, I think unless you're really into abs and good chest muscles and grrr, then he's kind of the most forgettable member of the team. He just kind of walks around topless at the beginning of the film to, you know, reel in that demographic, to be perfectly honest with you. Fish puns. But in terms of the presentation, I think this is where the film sets itself apart from Marvel in some elements and takes some steps back, because some scenes with Batman, for instance, are shot absolutely amazingly, same with Flash, even with Wonder Woman, but then you've got ones with Cyborg and Superman, spoilers, that do let the side down a little bit, to be perfectly honest. I mean, in terms of the production value, it's somewhat up and down. Cyborg, I get why they did the CGI. I get it, because he's a big guy and it's all mechanical and you can do more with the CGI than you can with physical prosthetics and stuff. But it takes you out of the experience when you're looking at him and you know that it's fake as f***. And there's the same thing with Superman. There was a rumor going around that the Henry Cavill, the actor for Superman, had a mustache, couldn't shave it or refused to shave it because he's got a film that he's also doing at the same time. So they've had to CGI out the mustache. And there's me sitting there thinking, doesn't it just make more sense to shave the fucking thing off and just put a prosthetic one on in the real world for the movie he's filming? I mean, no offense, but I don't think whatever film he's filming at the same time is more important than this film in terms of the financial success it has to generate in order to perpetuate this franchise, and indeed just in terms of its gross being so hinged on one of its main bankable characters. And yes, Superman's in the film, and it's not one of those throwaway sections at the end where it's like, oh, he'll be back in the next film, or, you know, how is it going to be with, you know, the Justice League having formed and now having to deal with Superman coming back into the fold. No! They decide to bring him back. They just, yep, we need him back. Let's go get him. Cool. Mother box, in, flash, touch, lightning, back, bad for a bit, and then he turns good. So that's an oversimplification, but at the same time, it can't be argued that I thought Superman's inclusion caused more problems than it solved in terms of the plot and in terms of my enjoyment of the film, but the villain is the weakest point of this film. So you take the CGI out, take the story out for a second. The villain's just a bit, Come on, man. You've got a plethora of villains that you could pick from in the DC universe. Just pick anyone else. Anyone that we'd heard of, and it would have been a little bit better. But I understand that they had to pick someone that realistically the League would struggle against and need Superman to get in, because then in the next film, presumably if they do get it off the ground, you've got Darkseid to worry about. And so you've got the next step up. So even though Superman completely owns this guy in this film, Darkseid is going to be that next step. So, you know, him plus the League, maybe they can contend, maybe they can't, Overall though, if I'm going to sum this film up, in terms of its presentation, it's serviceable. In terms of its acting and the characters, they're great as a team. In terms of the story, it's predictable as balls, but at the same time enjoyable for what it is. In terms of the quips, you can tell Joss Whedon is all over this film now in terms of his production style, because it just made it more enjoyable. 2 post-credits cutscenes, and you can tell which one was Joss Whedon's and which one was in the film previously, because there's just such a different tone to them, and one hits and one completely misses. In terms of setting up the story going forward, I think it did enough. I would advocate that people go see this film. I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was not on Marvel's level, but in fairness, Marvel have had 10 years to get this formula right, and they hit upon that formula with Iron Man, a film that they didn't expect to build a franchise this expansive off of. So in terms of DC, I hope they feel emboldened if people go to see this film to persist and hone it and craft it and make it better. Overall, if I'm going to have to boil it down to a base rating, we're going to stop doing this from going forward, because I think it just takes away from the rest of the review that I've just said. If I'm going to rate this film, it's a 7. It's nothing special. I'd want to stress that. I'm not saying this is a great film or anything like that. But in terms of my personal enjoyment, I loved this film. I thought it was entertaining as all hell. And I would advocate that anyone go see it if they haven't got anything else to do on a cinema-going weekend. Or if you're a fan, and this is where I come into it. As a fan of the cartoons, and as a fan of the comic books, and as a fan of the animated shorts and movies that have been made about these characters, the fact that I felt that this film did stay true to the characters that I'd known and grown up with. I didn't need an individual film for each and every one of them to get to know them. I knew these characters. They felt true to life. They felt like what I'd grown up with. And that helped me gel with this film. And I get the casual fan probably won't. The casual fan will probably be wandering around going, I have no idea what's going on. But in a weird way, for a hardcore fan, or I wouldn't classify myself as a hardcore fan, but a fan that's vaguely aware of the universe as a whole, I really enjoyed this film. They kept it simple, they kept it to the point, and the extended edition, which will no doubt be released with an extra half an hour's worth of footage that will just, you know, add another layer on top to the cookie goodness that was this film, will just serve to underline that point. And in much the same way that Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, the extended edition, made that film way better from what I'm hearing. I will get around to watching and reviewing that at some point, given that I reviewed the film when it was in the cinema, but at the same time, I hope people give this film a chance. If they're a staunch Marvel fan, yeah, fair enough if you want to draw that, but we live in a world where you can enjoy both, so just get your ass to the cinema and support it. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Halcyon Blink. Please like, share, subscribe, go see the film, and leave the comments in the comment section telling me what you thought, whether or not you thought the film was an absolute pile of crap, as it seems that most critics and commentators and other people that just want to hate on DC and, you know, shower Marvel with praise, considering that Marvel seem to be just churning out hit after hit after hit. And maybe I'm oversimplifying that, but it just seems like people see a DC film and they automatically assume it's going to be terrible, rather than giving it the fair shake that I think it deserves. Same reason why I thought Suicide Squad was actually pretty good. It wasn't terrible, but it was pretty good. And it's the same with this, and it was the same with Batman Dawn of Justice. They just haven't quite found that spark yet. And I have faith that they'll find it, but they need your support in order to do it. So anyway, thank you very much again for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. Go check out some of the other content creators below. Leave your comments in the comment section below as to what you thought about the film and in terms of where you think DC should go going forward. And please, as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.